Hi, and welcome to Christina Marie TV. I'm your host, Christina Marie. Now I know if it's been late at night and you hear bumping or maybe footsteps that shouldn't be there in your house, or maybe a really odd noise. Now, either it's the refrigerator that needs to be changed, or maybe it could be a ghost. Well, if you do have a ghost, then you're going to be very interested in my guest tonight. I have with me the lead investigator from the San Francisco Ghost Society, Shannon Riley. Welcome, Shannon.
Thanks, Christina. Glad to be here.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's a very popular topic right now. Ghost, I don't want to say hunting because you're not like using weapons towards the ghost, but investigating. Is that what you call it?
Yeah, it is really popular right now. I think in part due to the Sci-Fi Channel and their show, The Ghost Hunters, the Atlantic Paranormal Society, Jason and Grant and their team, and they take it really seriously, but they also have a good time while they're doing it, and that's one of the things that the San Francisco Ghost Society tries to do as well. We kind of model our investigation techniques and our style on TAPS.
Mm-hmm. And TAPS is the one that basically they go and try to investigate and find out if it's any electrical current or something in the house that might be. They try to disprove it before they prove it. Is that usually the best way, I'd imagine, to make sure that they're legitimately finding a ghost when they do? It
is the best way. I think a lot of folks can jump to conclusions, and it can just be something natural, like you mentioned earlier, the refrigerator, or electromagnetic fields. Our circuit breakers, any kind of electrical device can throw off electromagnetic waves, and it can really kind of wreak havoc with your mind and kind of create maybe a sense of vertigo, or make you think you're seeing things when you're really not. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the things we'll try to do. We'll go in and we'll measure electromagnetic fields, make sure that there's nothing wrong with the wiring in the house or any of the other devices that might be plugged in, mm-hmm. before we jump to, oh yeah, you have a ghost.
Well, of course, the first question I'm going to ask you is, how in the world did you get into this kind of an occupation? I mean, where did that start?
I'm a bit of a weirdo. I've always been really into it.
That's good. We encourage that on our show.
I've always been into ghosts and the paranormal ever since I was a little kid. I've just had this weird fascination with it, and I've had lots of friends and family that have had experiences. It's weird because I didn't actually have any personal experiences until I moved to San Francisco.
Oh, okay. So you're saying our town is full of ghosts? Is that what you're saying, Shannon? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Connecticut.
Oh, in Connecticut. There's no ghosts in Connecticut?
Oh, there's tons of ghosts in Connecticut. New England is, has so much rich history, and my family has stories of relatives that have passed away and then have come back to visit their loved ones and left messages. My grandmother passed away about a year ago, and my mom was pretty down around the holidays about my grandmother. We were all missing her, and she was taking it pretty hard. And one night she was going to the store with my dad and forgot that she needed a recipe from one of her cookbooks, and she's got hundreds of cookbooks. So she ran back in the house from the car and pulled out just a random cookbook from her whole library, opened up to a page, and the page she opened up to had a letter from my grandmother that was written 10 years ago to the day. And the date was on it, and the time was on it, and it gave my mom a lot of comfort. And she felt like, in a way, my grandmother was there and telling her, it's going to be okay.
That's pretty amazing. I mean, a lot of people could write that off as being coincidental, but that's pretty darn specific.
It's pretty darn specific. To the day. To the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and almost to the hour. My grandmother always dated her letters and put the timestamp on it.
That's amazing. And so you're saying when you say that relatives visited the house again, in what way would you say that? Did you ever see an apparition? Did they ever appear?
I've never seen any apparitions of relatives. I think it can be as simple as finding a piece of jewelry that your relative loved, and for years you never saw it, and then all of a sudden it shows up when you're thinking of them. Or like what happened with my mom. She was having a really hard time missing my grandmother, and then she found a letter from her at a really at a time that was probably needed for her. Mm-hmm. Very close friend of the family lost her son in an accident, and she was devastated, of course, losing your son. And she started seeing his spirit around the house. He made his presence known in an actual apparition. And not only did she see it, but her other son, friends of the family, she would drive up to the house at night and look up to one of the top windows, and he'd be looking down at her from the top floor.
Now that's scary.
It's a little scary.
But comforting at the same time.
Yeah.
So how, I mean, do ghosts realize that they could scare the people that are still alive and kind of temper it a little bit? Or some ghosts just blatant? Are they trying to scare?
Well, there's different types of hauntings, Christina. There's a residual haunting, which is kind of like a film strip that just replays itself. It's like a memory or an emotion that gets trapped in time, and you can't interact with it. It doesn't really have an intelligence. It just kind of goes through the motions of what it did when it was alive. And then there's, of course, intelligent hauntings, which do interact with you. We'll try during investigations to make contact if we think something might be there, and we'll say, you know, knock 2 times on the wall if you're there. And, you know, occasionally we've gotten knocks and pops and in response to our questions.
So didn't that freak you out the first time? I mean, you said you were interested in this since you were a kid. Did you like, yeah, give me 3 knocks, and then you get the knocks, you're like, whoa! You know, because I see that on the show. Sometimes they look pretty scared when it happens.
Sometimes they do look pretty scared. I'm not sure that you're always expecting it. I think a lot of times we go in expecting not to really find anything. And I think that's a good attitude to take, because if you go in expecting to find something, then you're probably going to imagine things or hear things that really aren't supernatural, but you're kind of making them supernatural when they're natural.
So let's go back to, you said that you really didn't see any ghosts or apparitions or anything until you got to San Francisco.
That's true.
So tell me that story, because I want to hear that.
I moved into a brand new apartment complex near Alamo Square about 8 years ago, and new construction. My roommate and I were the first ones to move in, and the first couple months I would see shadows darting around the apartment across the floor, almost like skittering, like they were rodents or little marbles, and I would always see them out of my peripheral vision.
Okay.
And one time I was sitting on the couch, and my roommate and I were sitting there watching TV, and all of a sudden it happened right in front of us. And I turned to him and I said, "Did you see that?" And he said, "Yeah, I've been seeing it for about 3 months now, but I didn't want to tell you because I didn't want to freak you out."
I bet that happens a lot. I didn't see it. What do you mean? And then you saw it. Oh my God.
Well, no one wants people to think that they're crazy.
But that was a new construction.
Brand new construction.
Where I thought it had to be in an older home.
Not all the time. You know, if there was something on the property, you know, years prior, if there had been some kind of activity, maybe there was a murder, maybe there's a restless spirit just kind of wandering the area. It doesn't necessarily have to be related to, you know, a house or a building that's been there for years and years.
That's pretty interesting. Now, so you've decided. Now, how did you find the Ghost Society? Not the Ghost Hunters. They're not hunting. They're not hunting. The Ghost Society. Is it? How did you just happen across them, or?
Well, we are in the Taps family, so we are kind of related to the Ghost Hunters, even though that's what we call ourselves, the San Francisco Ghost Society.
It's
so
friendlier.
Friendlier,
yes.
Yeah. I'd say we're more investigators than hunters.
Okay.
But I came across the San Francisco Ghost Society a couple years ago. I was doing a web search. I was looking for a local group that I could possibly work with and find folks that had the same interests as me. And I met with a few of the folks from the team, and we hit it off, and here I am several years later with the team.
Very cool. And now the team is very diverse as far as what they bring to the mixture. Can you explain a little bit about who's in it and what backgrounds they have?
Absolutely. We have a very diverse group. First of all, for our investigations, we come at it from a scientific perspective. Although we do have people on the team with psychic ability, we don't rely on psychics basically to prove or disprove whether a place is haunted. We have one woman two sisters actually, who are our tech specialists. They have tons of equipment, and they bring that to every investigation. One is a hospital administrator. I did mention a psychic. We have a very talented psychic on the team who often, I shouldn't say often, but questions her own ability sometimes. And she's more often than not right. But she questions herself, because I'm not sure that she even believes it most of the time.